I think it's time I address the two issues that come up in this comment and in so many other comments. One, bias, and two, argument. Bias. There is no such thing as an unbiased person. You guys really need to stop with this, my professor was biased, or all professors were biased. Of course they were biased. You don't say. Every fucking person in this world is biased. There is no such thing as a non-biased person. What you are probably looking for is integrity or professional integrity. Whether your professor has the professional integrity to treat every student fairly and respectfully, despite their position. That's what you really are looking for. And unless you have evidence that a professor lacks this professional integrity, you really have to just drop these type of claims because they're just not serious, not credible, and they make you look really foolish. That's one. Two, argument. An argument is not an opinion. By this I mean that an argument can be your opinion, but an opinion by definition is not an argument. Meaning, an argument has to be based on credible evidence from history, from science, from various other fields. And if you don't have that, you can still believe in it, like a lot of religious beliefs, right? But it's not a valid argument because you cannot support it with credible evidence based on scientific and empirical means. And we have very clear rules for how to assess this. This is not a random thing that professors do. A lot of students don't get that. They come to college and they think, I'm going to say all sorts of shit, and if the professor disagrees with me, the professor is biased and I'm right. You guys need to learn how to develop a proper argument. Some high schools teach it better. Some high schools teach it not so good. One point to bear in mind is that every good argument also has to deal with contradicting evidence that weaken the argument and then explain why, despite the weakening evidence, this argument is valid. For example, if you say that all higher education in the US should be free, but you do not account for the cost and what it's going to do to the national deficit, you have presented a weak argument. If you claim that all abortions should be outlawed, but you have not accounted for what this is going to do to women's access to health and education and poverty, you have made a weak argument. If you argue that all immigration laws should be dropped or that unlimited, unrestricted immigration should be allowed into this country without accounting for the negative implications of such policies, you have made a weak argument. If you claim that we should not be enacting any climate or green policies because climate change is not real, well, obviously you've made a weak argument because pretty much all the evidence is against you. And so on and so forth. So college students coming into college need to understand the power of evidence to form good arguments. Without that, your arguments are worthless.